Hey guys, I'm Tiffany with the Nerdettes, and I'm here with the man, the myth, the legend. Please.
Oh, hi, I'm Donny Cates.
And in case you don't know who this man is, I know you've done Thanos. I've read Cosmic Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you've done stuff with Spider-Man.
It's a little bit. Spider-Man was in my Doctor Strange run a little bit, and then I'm writing Venom, so it's.
I know.
It's a he's bound to turn up at some point, I'm sure.
Venom.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I loved, I know they didn't get to see the panel, but I loved just hearing you talk about, for me, the soul of comics and finding that. And I feel like, especially with God Country, which is fantastic.
Thank you.
That you really bring that. And do you mind to talk about, for example, you mentioned Thanos, which you also worked on, embodies hunger.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, I try and bring something of myself into everything that I write. I tend to try and be as I said it on the panel, but as kind of emotionally naked as possible in my books. It's my therapy. It's how I deal with shit. I'm a former alcoholic and addict, and 5 years sober.
Oh wow! Congratulations!
In like 2 weeks or so.
That's amazing.
Thank you. It's where God Country came from. I was hospitalized from drinking too much, and I almost died. And then as a result of that, I came out of that experience having a lot to say about death and what you leave behind when you die. And so I tend to take my writing very seriously because I've come close to dying, and so I think I know that there's a very short amount of time that we have, and so I try and use every book that's in front of me to try and focus and try and think about my emotional state that I'm in at the time, right? A lot of writers don't choose that path because it is quite revealing and quite vulnerable.
Right.
But
it strips that away.
It's what I have to do. I have a book coming up next year that I'm at a place, thank God, that at Marvel where I can choose books that I want based on my emotional state. And so there's a character that I wanted to write so that I would have a cipher to write through the thing that I'm going through right now. I'm getting a divorce. No, it's fine. But I chose a character to tackle so that I could talk about it. And so that's the only way that I know how to approach this job is to put myself into it as much as possible. That's why I'm on Venom as long as I am, and why Venom is so important to me, because Eddie Brock is a character who ultimately just wants to do good and is ultimately a decent guy, but is so driven and so steered by his demons, and he wears his demons on the outside.
Right.
And so, he has this other voice in his head that steers him down paths that are not necessarily his own motivations. Not to say that they're all bad. The Venom symbiote can sometimes steer him into being a better man, but it is ultimately an exercise in bending him to someone else's will, a voice that is not his own, and that's just addiction.
Right.
That's what being an addict is. And certainly through those hardships can make you a better person, but you have to be able to steer that addictive drive towards good things. So that's all Venom is me wrestling that shit.
But that's an amazing coping mechanism. I mean,
sure.
To fuel that soul and that need and all these thoughts and embody those in this character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the only way I know how to do it. Before my brush with death, I wrote a bunch of books that I didn't really know what they were about. I didn't really know what I was doing. I still don't know what I'm doing. No one's ever a master at this craft. You learn as you go along and you fail in public. And so, I'm still trying to figure it out,
But I feel like with that, you bring that humanity, because struggling with that, a lot of these, Venom and Eddie Brock and all these characters are doing that same thing. What am I doing?
Yeah.
What the hell is going on here?
Yeah, Eddie Brock especially. Is that, you always try and search when you're writing one of these characters, any of these Marvel characters who have been around for longer than you have. just try and break them down to who they are ultimately, right? The thing with Eddie Brock, though, I think what's ultimately what I've found with Eddie is he's a character that if you were to ask him who he is, he couldn't tell you either.
Right.
He's still very much wet clay. Peter is very much forged and is very Peter Parker and Steve Rogers are essentially the exact same human being. Their paths veered off into different ways, but they are ironclad in their will and who they are. Right. They also had seminal moments that forged who they are. Every action that Peter ever takes in his life comes from the death of his Uncle Ben. That was his bedrock. It was kind of his everything, the moment that his life hinges on, right? Eddie doesn't have that. Eddie always runs around talking about protecting the innocent. Where does that come from?
Right.
What is Eddie Brock? Not Venom. What is Eddie Brock's Uncle Ben moment, right? Not to plug my own book, but that's something that I'm doing right now in my second arc of Venom. And the second arc of Venom is called The Abyss, and it's dealing with Eddie going home to San Francisco and talking to his father and dealing with his family, and we're gonna reveal what moment made Eddie Brock like that. What makes a guy perfectly okay with an alien symbiote falling on him, and he was just like, cool, whatever. Everyone else who has ever won a symbiote has had a moment of being terrified by it. It's fucking terrifying. It's liquid black malice that seeps into your brain and your veins and controls you, and there's another voice in your head. It's terrifying, except for Eddie Brock. Eddie got it and was just like, cool, let's roll. Who the fuck is that guy?
Right.
How does that guy?
Like this synonymous, the symbiosis.
Yeah, right. How is he just perfectly okay with that? And my kind of thesis statement on Eddie Brock is that he's the most codependent human being who's ever lived. And so, going into the series, I tried to break down codependency and what that looks like and how a person becomes that way, and I've reverse engineered it for Venom.
And I know, like in the panel, you talked about, like, Peter Parker's moment when he's calling Aunt May to tell her goodbye, essentially.
Yeah, you yelled that in the middle of the panel.
I was like, no,
you were like, no!
Don't worry. That's like too soon kind of moment, It's always.
It destroys. That is, in one scene, you find out exactly who he is as a man, and it's amazing. And I've been chasing that. I've been chasing that perfect moment.
You're going to find that with Venom, like the way that you're talking about him finding his motivation,
right.
Almost, and like that is. I feel like it's going to have that pivotal moment with you, where he has that moment that Peter Parker had calling Aunt May, and I'm probably going to saw my eyes out.
I hope so. There's a few moments coming up in the Abyss that we're gonna really learn who Eddie is as a guy, and I will be chasing that moment as a writer my entire life. I hope I can write something that's anywhere near that Peter Parker moment.
And I don't know how much that's gonna, like, as a writer, to like take that piece, I can't imagine, because it's like, for me, that'd be like shredding a bit of my soul,
Yeah, no, I cry all the time. My girlfriend Megan will come in, and I'm writing. We have a loft, and so I'm upstairs. And she'll come up there and ask if I want lunch or coffee or something, and I'll just be sobbing.
Yeah.
And she'll be like, "What are you writing?" And I'll be like, "I'm writing Baby Teeth and Clark." Oh fuck! But I'll like tell her what I'm writing, and I just fucking bawl my eyes out. And I normally can tell when I'm gonna get you. Like when I wrote God Country, the everything scene when Emmett passes everything to Roy. The entire book was engineered towards that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was building towards that, and we worked backwards to try and make that moment perfect. And I kind of knew that was going to get people.
Oh, yeah.
That page didn't destroy me to write as much as the page that's right after it, and it dies. And I knew it was going to die in the beginning, but writing it was a whole other thing, and it destroyed me. And then when the art came in, when Jeff drew Roy's expression, because Roy, it wasn't in the script. When it wasn't in the script at all, but Jeff drew it. Roy looks down at his father, and he added a panel that wasn't in the script, where he just looks up at nothing. There's nothing up there, but he just looks up, and he's just like, because he's a little boy. He's looking for his dad, but his dad's not there. His dad's here. He's dead. And so Roy like briefly becomes a little kid again, like looks up for his dad, but his dad's not there, and then he looks back down at his dad and he says thank you, and he kisses him before it. It devastated me. So like I feel it too, man. When I write this stuff, I know that if it'll make me cry, then I can try and do it. And I know if I can manipulate myself to tears. When I killed Bats and Doctor Strange, that was tough for me. When I brought him back, and I don't know if you've read my Doctor Strange run, but when Stephen offers Bat's dead body to the World Tree, and he says like, I don't have anything to offer you, but I can offer you a very good boy. It fucking killed me to write that, dude. So yeah, I feel it too, and I feel like if I the moment I write something and it's supposed to be sad, but I don't feel it, I will rewrite it until it cuts it.
And I feel like that brings me back to something you talked about in the panel about those moments and about Wheaton specifically.
Yeah, sure.
Talking about how he chases those moments more than like the plot or whatever. He chases those moments and centers everything else around them.
Yeah.
And I think that's
Whedon
really
is cruel.
Yes. Firefly, Serenity, Buffy, obviously. I know that's the favorite of yours.
The favorite. No, you're fine. The favorite. The absolute favorite. Yeah, Kat knows that if I get started on this, I'll never stop. But Buffy the Vampire Slayer
Don't talk about
is my favorite work of fiction fiction created by human hands. I think it's brilliant. I rewatch the entire 7-season arc every year. I watch it every summer. I still learn things every time. I learn that essentially, if you love something a lot, if you're writing a book and you think I need to kill a character, and you go through your roster of characters, the first character that you think of that you can't kill, you're like, well, I can't kill them. They're like, I love them. That's who you should kill. That's who should go.
Cruel.
That's
so cruel.
Because if it hurts you, it's going to hurt them way more.
That's very true. And I mean, that's powerful. Damn.
Yeah. So yeah, but Buffy's a very special thing for me. My girlfriend and I were talking about how she said that her sexual awakening was when she saw David Bowie in Labyrinth.
Hell yes.
And that as a consequence, she has always chased very effeminate boys, and I myself can be quite effeminate sometimes. And it dawned on me while talking about it, because I was like, what was mine? What was my sexual awakening? And I was like, oh shit, it's Sarah Michelle Gellar. I was like, if I look back at every ex of mine, they have the exact same body type, and it's Sarah Michelle Gellar's body type, and all of them, the exact same thing. So she is a very special lady in my heart.
Yeah.
She's the chosen one.
And I love that you can embrace that femininity.
Oh yeah, sure.
And like that brings that kind of, I know it's a big issue, like that empowerment that a lot of people need in their own comics.
The closest I put myself in a lot of books, and my voice is kind of apparent in a lot of my books, but the character that sounds the most like me, the character that's the easiest for me to write, is Sadie in Baby Tooth.
Right.
She's a 16-year-old girl. She is just me, like through and through. And I don't know what that says about me, that like the closest proxy to me is a 16-year-old girl. My girlfriend calls me the internet's girlfriend, which I quite like as a title.
I need to know what's behind that.
I get hit on a lot on Twitter, but only by dudes. Almost exclusively. Guys are super aggressive on Twitter, but never in person. Girls are never aggressive on Twitter, but are in person. And I don't know what that means. You'd think it would be opposite, right?
It's like an odd juxtaposition.
You'd think it would be opposite, but I've had girls be super inappropriate at the table, but never when Megan's around. Never when Megan's around. They always wait for Megan to leave, and then they come by and do weird shit.
Whenever you don't have a female handler present.
Yeah. Megan's scary. So
That's a good thing.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I don't. What are we talking about? I veered off into Twitter things.
Empowerment.
Yeah, empowerment. Sure. I try and write. I don't know, man. I don't know that I actually have what you would call an agenda in any of my books. Certainly, Baby Teeth, I suppose, could be chalked up to or could be looked at as like a female empowerment thing because it's about a new mom trying to fight, and it's ostensibly a book that's all about girls.
Right.
Never set out to make it that though. That was never an intention. It's about my mom. My mom had me when she was 16 years old. Or no, she had my brother when she was 16. She had me when she was 18. And then my mom went on to, she dropped out of high school, right? And then when I was 8 and my brother was 10, she went and got her GED and then went to community college and then went to college and then went to law school and then became a DA. And she did all of that while raising my brother and I.
That's going to be a badass.
Yeah, so I was raised by a very, very strong female protagonist.
Right.
So I never think about these things as like I'm trying to portray a role model or anything. It's just my mom. Mm-hmm. You know. That
is like the best. That's the sweet.
She's the shit. She's also terrifying.
Because she's a badass.
I'm so glad. I oftentimes when I see her in action, thank God that I'm on her team, because I fucking wouldn't want to be against her.
On the good side.
Yeah. Megan hasn't met her yet, so that'll be a whole thing.
Now, before we wrap, one thing I thought was great was what you found out the Hulk was about, and I want to let you take that.
Yeah, I was in Rose City Comic Con, and one of my writing idols, Jim Starlin, was there, and I'm somewhat known for my Thanos story, and Jim Starlin is very known for creating that character and giving us almost everything you know about Marvel. And Jim and I have talked on the phone a few times and have emailed back and forth, but we had never met. And so Rose City Comic Con was the first time that we were going to meet. And I went by his table, and he was busy, and I couldn't stay for very long. And so we briefly met and took a picture, but then he texted me and said that he wanted to get off the floor and go and get a cup of coffee together. It was huge for me. And he sat me down. And he told me that he was. The first thing he said to me was that he was that he had kind of thought about this moment for a long time, and that he was kind of dreading this idea. And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he was like, "This is me passing the torch." And he was like, "I'm as the guy
no pressure."
Yeah, he was like he didn't say this, but in so many words, I'm paraphrasing. As the guy who was the former Cosmic Marvel guy, he was handing me the keys, which is insane, and I still can't believe that it's a real thing that Jim Starlin said to me. But then he said that when he took over the Hulk, Jack Kirby took him out and sat him down and told him the secrets of writing the Hulk, and that he wanted to do that for me and tell me the secrets of writing Thanos. And so he did. He told me the secrets of writing Thanos, which I will not share with you. But the secrets of writing the Hulk that he said was that Jack Kirby said that most people write the Hulk as a proxy or as an analogy for anger, when in actuality it's about being willfully ignorant. It's about being stupid. And in so much as when people are willfully ignorant, the harder you hammer on them, the more stubborn they get. And that you can't approach stupidity with stupidity. And that's what the Hulk is about. And I thought that was, of course, brilliant coming from Jack Kirby. Wow. So yeah, I've been very fortunate in my short little career to have been met with a lot of my heroes. I met Alan Moore. I went to Alan Moore's house. I was not invited there. I went to his house and knocked on his door, and he opened and came out and talked to me. I don't recommend doing that simply because it distracts from my story. Yeah, and I'm lucky enough to count Mark Waid as a friend, and Jason Aaron as a friend, Jonathan Hickman, all these guys. And so I'm still such a fucking nerd and a fan that I can't make it.
You got that fan going on.
Be real. The idea that I can just text Jim Starlin and be like, "Hey, what would Thanos do here?" It's rad. Yeah.
I can't even imagine that.
It's real
But
weird, man.
that's so badass. But
Yeah.
I mean, I just want to thank you for talking with me. I mean, I loved hearing you talk about like finding that soul and that chasing those moments in the
Yeah.
panel. And I wanted to kind of share that with people that are writing or want to write or that want to know what it is behind those writers that make those moments happen. And I feel like you really brought that around. So thank you for talking with us and kind of bringing that up as well. So
thank you.
But yeah, I will be posting all of your Twitter because I know you're not really social media like Twitter.
That's where I'm at.
And I'll definitely post that in the link. So follow his Twitter and look him up if you don't follow him already. Shame on you. Put this in your pull box. Venom, anything that he's writing, put it in your pull box like I do, and just make sure it's in your pull list because it's incredible. And I can't wait to find those future moments with Venom that you're kind of conceptualizing, I'm sure. So
thank you.
But thank you for hanging out with us, and thank you guys for watching. We'll see you later. Bye.